Kristen. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Kristen.
I was driving up here with my sponsor, who was just mentioned, and just talking about, my story. Which was really helpful coming here because, life has dramatically changed for me. I remember coming into AA and hearing people talk about, hearing this kind of over and over again, like, AA has given me a life second to none. And I would hear people saying that and just thinking, well, that sounds a little aggressive. I don't know. Like, I just didn't really, I'm like, and isn't that like ego? Like, I didn't understand even anything about that. When I came here, I was just really lost. I was truly a lost person in a lot of pain, and I just didn't want to, I didn't know how to feel okay in my own skin. And that's really all I wanted when I first got here, was a little bit of peace and for, the turning to stop in my head. So, I can truly say that Alcoholics Anonymous, I love this program. It has saved my life. It has changed, who I am as a person, and given me a relationship with God that really, it just has changed everything about, the way I think and how I feel about the world around me. So I am truly grateful to be here and to share a message of hope. So I do, my sobriety date is February 28th, 2018. I have a home group. It's the Jumping Off Place. We meet Tuesday nights in Raleigh, for anyone who would ever want to come and visit. What else is there? I have a service position, I have a sponsor, and I actively use my sponsor. I meet with her and we talk, and she really understands who I am and is really helps me to get through the day, basically. So I'm here to tell you just what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Growing up, I grew up right outside of Philadelphia. I'm one of 4 kids. I had a pretty good childhood. I used to want to kind of go into all this kind of debating of my childhood, and honestly, I was a pretty happy kid. That's what I was told. She was so happy. We don't know what happened to her. And I was. I just was. I still hear that to this day from my family members. We're not quite sure what happened. She was so happy, but but I do know that there was a sense of unease. I was uneasy, and I kind of felt like I was on the outside looking in, and I don't really know, I don't really try to analyze that too much anymore. I kind of felt as a young child that I had a close connection with God. I really, truly felt that way when I was little. I do remember having thoughts, about God and, about the religion that I was in and the school that I was in and, nuns and all this kind of stuff and what we were learning in school and having questions, from a young age. So, it is something that, I do remember that being a part of being a kid for me. In my first drink, I guess I was about 13 years old. A friend of mine was having a party. Her parents were away, and she had a party in the basement. And we, went there, and I think we were making like vodka and Cokes, which makes no sense. I think I couldn't drink Coke for a while after that. Like for a few months, I didn't want Coca-Cola at all. I would say I drank alcoholically from the beginning. I don't think that alcoholism manifested this night, but I do know that I couldn't. Once I started drinking, I couldn't stop, and I ended up blacking out that night. And the last thing I remember is just the room spinning, and I have zero recollection of that party. And I do know that when I woke up, I wasn't thinking, oh, I can't wait to do that again. I was thinking, I hope I don't get caught, and I felt terrible, and, that sort of thing. So from then on, I just remember just occasionally kind of going through the motions of, stealing alcohol from my parents and drinking with my friends every once in a while on the weekends and, pretty, teenager stuff, but I definitely drank differently from the beginning. I never wanted it to end, and I never wanted to stop, and, I always found myself kind of wanting my friends to keep going from the beginning, and also wanting to hang with my brother and his friends and all this kind of stuff. So going into high school, I was pretty big into sports in high school. I started out like running track and playing tennis, and that was really important to me for like the first couple years of high school. And I mentioned that just because I do remember, that being the thing. When all of a sudden, what was important was no longer important. I just kind of came across this kind of rebellious nature. I didn't want to, I didn't care anymore. It didn't matter if they were talking about scholarships or anything like that. I wanted to go out, I wanted to drink, I wanted to basically have fun, and so I would dramatically quit the track team, and then I got kicked off the tennis team for getting high before practice. And, and that's basically when things really started to change. I, started experimenting with different things like psychedelics and marijuana and stuff in high school. I didn't like getting high. I do remember that, but man, I got high every single day. I did not like it. I never enjoyed it. I was paranoid. I really didn't. I was like, everyone was freaking me out, like the teachers, like this is terrible. It was terrible, but I did it every day, every morning on the way to school. And that's kind of how it went in high school. Towards the end there, I just, didn't know who I was, and I was always putting different hats on, and I was, just very rebellious and wanting to be. I just had this desire to stand out and be unique, and for some reason, I really thought that this, I was trying to find the group that I was gonna land in, and when I finally started hanging out with like the people who were doing drugs and drinking, I was like, hey, I found my people. This is where I belong, and so that's what I did, and I started having consequences started showing up pretty quickly. Well, first of all, getting kicked off of things, and I did graduate though, and just getting in trouble and things like that. I did have one incident while in high school. A friend of mine got basically had like a psychotic break with a hallucinogen, and he got put into a mental institution. And I took it upon myself with another friend of mine that we are going to break him out. That's what we're going to do. And I did this like on the spur. I mean, I was like, we're doing this. I got there. I think I had gotten my license like a couple weeks earlier, and I'm in my new car that my parents had just bought me, which is crazy. I don't know what they were thinking, and we go there, and I'm just like, okay, so what I'm going to do, and I had this whole plan. I like put a large hoodie on, and we went in there, and I was going to like put the hoodie on him, and then we were just going to like walk out of there discreetly. And, we made it to the parking lot, and I, like I said, ran track, and I was very, very fast, I thought in my mind. But I'm telling you, there was a nurse that was like the fastest human being on the planet. He was so fast, I don't even know. He caught up to us. We got to the parking lot and then started to sprint. And, I got really lucky with that because apparently it's illegal to break someone out of a mental institution. I had no idea. I just, I really didn't think about that. I had no clue this was illegal. So, I got really lucky, and his dad didn't press charges, and, because his parents were called, and, obviously, and, but the police were not called, and thank God. So, and I just remember that night, like, really feeling that I was in the right there. I mean, I really felt like I know what is best for this guy, like he just took some acid. Like, what is the big deal? Like, no, he had a psychotic break. But anyway, this person ends up being my fiance for a while, by the way. So it just, it was a relationship. It was just really, really good, obviously, really healthy. So you'll see, nothing bad happens there. Anyway, so I graduated high school. I got to speed up here. And in college, I got into college. So it's a miracle that I graduated college. I went to 4 different colleges. From the beginning, it took me 7 years to graduate, and I just kept getting kicked out of colleges. And I never went to class the first 3 colleges. I just kept withdrawing from classes, drinking every single night, doing all sorts of different substances. I can't tell you how many times I saw the sun come up. I remember vividly having this feeling, and I heard someone else say this in their talk recently, and I just was like, oh, that was so, she was speaking my language, but she remembered And I remember, just kind of having that feeling of panic when the sun was about to come up. That those sun rays, like, coming through the blinds and just being like, no, like, that happened to me all the time. And I just really felt safe in the middle of the night when I was drinking and using, and I never wanted it to end, and I never wanted the daytime to come. I really had a fear of the sun. I mean, I truly did. I did not like daytime because I just felt like the rest of the world was waking up, and now all of a sudden something was expected of me. And I was like mad at people that did not exist, I'm like, these people are just like, get off my back, and no one was saying anything. So, so I'm going through college, and I'm getting kicked out of schools, and I remember having to go home to my parents a few times and be like, the good news is I have failed no classes. The bad news is I've withdrawn from all of them, and now I am kicked out of school again. So by the third college, though, I did have a moment of, well, geez, I really think maybe I need to get like my stuff together here. I had a moment of I need to get my life together. And I was living in an apartment and just really, every night just going really hard and, in and out of not in and out, in a relationship that was not even, I was just basically just completely, sick at this point, and just not doing anything even remotely productive with my life. So my parents, after the third time were like, okay, we have to pull her out of this apartment that they were paying for, which was crazy. They were just really trying their best to get me to keep going, and which was really hard. And so my uncle, I ended up moving back home, and my uncle worked at a college called Immaculata. It was a Catholic college, and he got me in there, and I really did. I was like, okay, I'm going to really try this time. And I remember a friend of mine telling me, look, all you have to do, this is his talk with me, which like really helped. He's like, just go to class. Like, you don't have to do your homework. You don't have to do anything. Just go to class. Just put your body in the seat. That's all you have to do. And I'm like, oh, I felt like he was teaching me some like secret loophole, like how to like just go to class. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to just do that. So, and turns out when you go to class, like then your professor starts to get to know you, and and you start to get homework. And so anyway, I did not get sober during this time. I didn't even think about the fact that I was an alcoholic. That hadn't occurred to me yet, but I was like, I need to at least get my life together a little bit. And so I did. I applied myself. So I did, I was still drinking and using drugs and each night, but I was doing homework while doing that as well, and ended up graduating. So I graduated from school. It was a miracle, and I was really on fire. I wanted to not feel this way anymore. I didn't want to be, because things were, I was just drinking alone every night. I was going out with friends too, but at this point I really didn't know what to do with myself, and so I heard about this. So I'm an alcoholic that goes to extremes. So I heard about this trip to Mindo, Ecuador, okay? And I was like, oh, this is going to cure me. You're going to go there and live in an orphanage and help orphans in the middle of the rainforest in Ecuador. I'm like, this is perfect. I'm going to be the great, I'm going to come home from this, and like, who drinks around Ecuadorian orphans? No one does. And like, nuns are there, like, it's going to be amazing. So I go to Mindo, Ecuador. I'm there for about a month, and this was really very difficult for me. Like, this was an important thing. Like, these children really were like real children. I was in an actual orphanage, and and I could not function. I mean, all I was thinking about was drinking. And I found the one bar that was in the town. The town was like as big as this room. Like, literally, there was like when I first got there, was like a huge pig walking by. Like, I was like, what the hell? Like, where am I? So, and I was like roping nuns into drinking with me. I was peer pressuring nuns. I really was. And apparently, like, honestly, nuns aren't that hard to get to drink with you. Like, they're down to drink. They're just not really up for drinking like 15 beers. Like, they just want to have like one or two, which made it even worse. So So anyway, so I get home, so I get through this month. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, I really did my best, but I struggled the whole time. And when I got home, I thought to myself, like, I just helped orphans. Like, I deserve to drink and do whatever the hell I want. So I really, and I have to speed up big time here, I really did that in a serious way. I think it was like 2 weeks later that I got home from this trip that I was at a party and tried these certain pills for the first time, tablets, as they say in the big book. I started taking tablets, and this was a game changer for me, and it really it made my alcoholism progress in a really serious way. I started waking up in the hospital. I was having seizures, and multiple times having to have like CPR done, and just. It was really, I was taking an insane amount of pills, of benzos and painkillers and things like that, and drinking and uppers, basically all at the same time. And, nothing was ever enough. I mean, it really wasn't. And so I also started this time really doing things that I never thought in a million years I would ever do. I started, stealing from my family members, and, it got to the point where they just couldn't really do it anymore. And when I first came in here, I was like, my family disowned me, and I felt so sorry for myself, and like they're just the worst. And no, that is definitely not what happened. They just did the best with it that they could do with me. I was really, I traumatized my family. I truly did. I mean, my mom and dad were traumatized. My mother, big time. I think she's still dealing with the effects of this. And so there was about 10 years, maybe 8 to 10 years, where I didn't speak to anybody in my family. Which was probably the best thing for all of us. I ended up, like I said, the guy who I broke out of the mental institution, him and I were very good friends in high school, and then in college started dating, and we're together. And this is a big part of my story. We drank and used the same way. And so after I stopped talking with my family, there's a lot to this. I went through different periods where I was literally in a basement, not wanting to get up, not wanting to leave the basement. I had spinal surgery, and I was just using that as an excuse to never stop recovering from this surgery, and I'm just drinking, and it was crazy. I don't have enough time to really go into all of this, but I just, certain things where I do feel that God, I know that God was with me this whole time. Not that God was saving me for anything, but I just know that He was with me during all of this. Because I was really desperate. I didn't want to be here anymore. I mean, I don't think that I was going to kill myself or anything. I wasn't necessarily thinking that, but I sure did not want to be here anymore. I didn't know what to do. This is years before I got sober. So I end up, the guy I'm with, his father ends up committing suicide. Pretty sure he was an alcoholic as well, which is also questionable, but we won't go into that. But and so he ends up getting basically a really large trust fund, which was not helpful for him and I. And the board of directors at his company basically was like, we just need to get rid of these two. They just need to go. Because it was just a problem, basically, for the company. And so we ended up moving to South Lake Tahoe in California. And things just became increasingly, my alcoholism progressed. Certain pills turned into other substances, and it got really, really bad, and I became unemployable. I would have been homeless, that's for sure. I mean, I was not able, but, we had money, or he had money. See, I'm still saying I had no money, he had money. And we had a house that had no mortgage, and car payments that had no car payments, and this was just living in this really beautiful home in the middle of Tahoe, and my poor neighbors. I mean, we literally trashed this house. I mean, it was ridiculous. And definitely all the people within all the locals who were also alcoholics and drug addicts just started coming over. I mean, there was many times where I was like, does so-and-so like live with us? I can't remember how many times I asked that question. I didn't know who was living with me or not. I really didn't. And it just came to the point where I was just kind of 24/7. I don't think I ever slept in a bed. I was just passing out and waking up, and it was just existing. Going to the casinos, and just complete no meaning in my life, really. And I hadn't talked to my family, and I was just surrounded by people who drank and used like I did. I have no recollection of like any of their names. It was just 5 years of chaos. And so what ended up happening, I started to get to be, have interactions with the police. They kind of started to be fully aware of our house. The house got raided a few times, and there were just little incidents. I know this one time and I had money, so I still to this day don't know what this was all about, but I one time got arrested for shoplifting. And when I got caught shoplifting, the store owner said that, you can just go, if you just give everything back, I won't call the police. I'm like, great, sure, we can absolutely do that. So I gave everything back, and for some reason he did call the police. I mean, I really believed him. I really thought, so I was just at the McDonald's, right? It was literally a stone's throw away, and he pointed out my car, and so within 15 minutes I got caught for shoplifting, and then the police pulled up, and they scared me so much that I slammed into the car in front of me, and so now I'm in a car accident. I'm pulled over. I'm arrested, and so that was probably the first time I spent a few days in jail, and so it was kind of in and out of there for a little bit, just getting into trouble, because once you do, it's really hard to to not be, which is good. So I end up the last time. So there is a judge, one judge in particular, and I really, really hated this guy. I mean, I really felt like he was picking on me. I mean, I truly did, and I can honestly say now, whenever I tell this, I get emotional because he truly saved my life. And I found out later that he was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I really feel like AA carried me through the whole time, the whole time of the process of getting sober. So, I kind of felt like I was on, this mechanical bull. I was trying to hold on, and I'm just getting bucked off, and, I don't want to let go, and I don't know where I would go if I did let go. So, he finally, after he put me on this thing called alternative sentencing, where I get a phone call every day, and if you fail these tests, you go into jail. And so I'm just going in and out, and then finally he was like, okay, because I keep getting bailed out. So then he realizes, okay, so that money is a problem here, because I swear he was trying to keep me in. And he would say things like, I don't want your life on my hands. He pulled out my mug shot a couple. I mean, this guy was in my mind, such. I really couldn't. He would not stop, and he really did save my life. So he ended up putting me without bail in jail for about a little over 2 months. And I remember calling. I'm making phone calls. This is how delusional I was. I'm this feels illegal. He can't just do this to me. I am breaking the law left and right, and I am thinking I need to sue this judge. I'm literally making phone calls. Who can we hire? Because he is, this can't be legal. And so, I go to my first couple AA meetings in jail, and the seed is planted. I can't say that I'm I really want to get sober, but the seed was planted. And I'm in there, and it was really good for me to go through that experience. I mean, I detoxed in the holding cell there, and it was really, really hard. I think I lost my mind a little bit, honestly. I really do. But I needed that. I really needed to experience that, because I'd been in treatment before where they medically do all this stuff, and then I'm drinking on the flight home, and so I kind of needed that. And just the guards knocking on the door every half an hour, are you alive? And I'm I wish I wasn't. Can you kill me? Is that allowed? I really, really didn't want to. It was horrible. So I get through, I'm getting through this, and finally this judge allows me to go to treatment, and I find a detox or a treatment center in Arizona, which was so random, and I go to Arizona. So I'm still with this guy, and he's in Tahoe, and I'm thinking, like, we've been together for like 13 years, and he's like not even visiting me in jail. So, and I'm still like, I have the greatest guy. Like, he is the best. And it was so crazy because he had to pack my bag for treatment. And I just love this part of it because I just find it to be, so when well, first of all, when for me to go to treatment, the judge had me escorted. This is how crazy, he had me escorted through. I had to hire ex-cops to escort me through the airport because he's like, oh, she's gonna coyote. I'm like, I don't even know what coyoteing is. Like, I'm not like, I've never ran from the law before. I don't know why he's assuming that I would. And this is the kind of thinking that I have, like, this guy is just the worst. And so he just wanted to make sure that I got there, and I remember my flight ended up being like 6 hours delayed, so I had to have, like, I'm hanging out with these police officers for 6 hours. We like went shopping together and had dinner together, and they're like trying to talk to me about like all this stuff that's been going on, and it was actually pretty cool, hanging out with them for a little bit. But when I got to Arizona and I had my bag that, his name was Steve, had packed, and so the lady, how they go through your stuff in treatment, and she opens it up, and we both are just like, I'm like, I'm not taking any responsibility for this. I have no idea. This bag was honestly the funniest thing I've ever seen. He had like things like duct taped in there. Like there was like duct tape involved, and so we start like yanking the duct tape off, and we're pulling out, like, it's Arizona, and it's 110 degrees that day, I remember, and we're pulling out sweaters and his pants, like few pairs of his pants, no shoes, literally no shoes. And I just remember being like, what am I even gonna do? I'm here for 3 months. Like, so, that was just an interesting start to just trying to get sober, I guess. And it took a while for me. I'm still in this relationship. I just experienced a couple months in jail. I wasn't thinking that I wanted to get sober yet. I was really, really terrified because in my mind, getting sober meant calling my family who I hadn't talked to in a decade, ending this relationship that I was in. I have nowhere to go. I'm homeless without him. And I just felt like it was all impossible. I mean, I really did. I felt like it was impossible. So, it took a while for me for the fog to lift, and, I stayed sober in jail, which was good, because it's not always, if there was anything in jail, I wouldn't, thank God, nothing got smuggled into jail. When I got to treatment, it was probably like, I don't know how long it took, but I had this moment of, the guy that I thought was nothing could ever end this relationship. He just kind of stopped answering the phone, like, and I couldn't get a hold of him. So I was like, I guess I'm just going to start like participating. I didn't know what to do, I just started we went to a meeting every single night, and I never shared or anything, but I really listened, and I started to see. I'm like getting emotional again. I started to see like light inside of people. I mean, honestly, like people say, oh, people were laughing and they were, I mean, really, like that is a thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like these people really are, this is powerful. And it was undeniable. And I almost started to scare myself. I'm like, do I want to do this? I was like, holy crap. Like I couldn't even believe that I was considering it. I would kind of, every once in a while, every like week or so, I'd get a hold of the guy I was with, and I'd be like, I don't know, maybe we should get sober. He's like, you're being brainwashed. Nope, don't even, what's going on? He was like really trying to talk me out of it. And, my counselors, I remember towards the end, were like, you were hilarious because you were like bragging about your life, when you first got here. Like, I just thought I had a relationship that was amazing. I was just really delusional and really, just not in reality in any way, shape, or form. And so I vividly remember having this day where, I couldn't get away from myself. I literally could not I wanted to like walk away from myself or something, and I just couldn't. And it just wouldn't stop, like the thinking wouldn't stop. And, I started to think about my sister. I remember her coming to my mind, and I literally had like an emotional breakdown in treatment. And before I had been like, I can handle anything, I'm like super strong, and these people don't know who they're dealing with, kind of nonsense. And I just had and only in treatment is it like you're having an emotional mental breakdown, and they're like, this is great, this is the most wonderful thing ever, we're so happy for you. And I'm just like, I hate you guys. And I had a moment, and people talk. I didn't know this was happening, but I stopped fighting. Finally, I think I exhaled for the first time in like a really long time, honestly. And I just said to my counselor, and for me, it wasn't like, this is what I think I need to do, or this is what someone's telling me to do. It was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do life. And I need help. Like, I realized that I needed help. And that I wasn't, like, I had so much pride before coming into AA. Like, I really did. I just thought that I could handle things, and no one ever told me. I didn't know that life was not about being handled, And I wasn't handling it. I was scared to go to the mailbox. The mailbox freaked me out. Like, I couldn't handle anything. I was barely functioning at all. So I had that moment, and I really felt that about 1 million pounds had been lifted off of me. I mean, to be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing, and I will do whatever you tell me to do. I just don't want to do this anymore. And I swiftly became really on fire to get sober. I mean, I really was excited, and I was listening in the meetings and trying to help people who were coming into the treatment center, and just really, really kind of just excited about the idea. Hope showed up. That's what happened. I became hopeful that things could change for me. And so, but now it was like, okay, now everything has to change. So, I was, of course, had to call my family. I had to decide to end this relationship. And, I remember calling so I couldn't remember my family's phone numbers. And I'm like, I don't know how to get a hold of them. I don't even know their phone numbers. And it was this craziest thing. We were trying to figure out, like, other people to call to get my family's phone number. And I'm like, I wonder if they're still in the same house. Like, probably not. They move a lot. And all of a sudden, it was, like, supernatural. Like, all of a sudden, one day, we went through, like, a week and a half of trying to track a friend of my family's down to get my parents' number. And then I just one day woke up and remembered my dad's number. I just remembered his phone number. And I'm like, I bet you anything my dad kept this number. And so I called the phone number, and, the first time I heard his voice, which was not his actual voice, it was his voicemail, I just hung up the phone. I'm like, I can't do it. I'm not doing it, What am I supposed to say? And in my mind, like, they didn't know that I had become, like, this terrible drug addict. And, like, of course they knew, what was going on. And so finally I do call, and they don't answer for 3 days, okay? I hadn't answered the phone, or I hadn't talked to my family in 10 years. And I'm like, how dare them not answer the phone for 3 days? Like, I need their help. And, and it turns out that, like, they were at my brother's wedding. My brother was getting married in Bald Head, right around in Bald Head Island. And they had no service. And so, the day after my brother's wedding, and thank God it wasn't the day before, because that would have thrown a wrench in his whole wedding. If they had answered, like, God was protecting us there. And so they all got these voicemails, like, flooding in, or my dad did. And, and so we get a phone call, and it was amazing. I think they just knew something was different because I sounded different, And so I'm, like, getting pictures of my sister. I hadn't seen my sister. She was like a woman. Like, I hadn't seen her in so long. She was, like, very young the last time I had seen her. And now, and my younger brother's married. I'm, like, seeing his wedding photos in treatment. And so I get out of there, and I reunite with my family. And sorry, I feel like I went a little too long there, but so I get to Raleigh, and Alcoholics Anonymous is where I really found the solution. So I was very uncomfortable this whole time. I was excited about recovery, but I hadn't started the steps, and I hadn't really experienced a psychic change or a transformation or anything like that. And that's the word that I like to use for what I've experienced with Alcoholics Anonymous and from my higher power, from God, and just from interacting with all of you, is I really feel like I have been transformed. I have worked the steps the first time with a sponsor, and in a way that, I heard many people work them, with worksheets and things like that. And I'm not, I had a spiritual awakening, and I was excited about being sober. And, I think I was kind of running off of enthusiasm for a little while there. And then I got a new sponsor. So I think for about the first 3 years of being sober, when I would say, I hear people talking about a life second to none. Like, I really was kind of thriving off of hope, because I was still living it. It took me, for me, it felt like a really long time. Like, I really wanted to take responsibility for my life. It just took, in my mind, it took a really long time. Just recently, I was living at home with my family for the first 3 years of being sober, and, not really knowing what to do. As a career, I had a criminal record, and I was really scared about a lot of that, and just, how do I even do this? And, I'm never going to find anyone. I'm going to be lonely forever. These are the kind of thoughts, and, and I got a new sponsor, and so I heard people talking about, working the steps right out of the big book, and, I wanted to have a different experience. I wanted what people that I respected in Alcoholics Anonymous had. I mean, the people that I would see that just really seemed to have an authentic way about them, that they knew who they were. There's certain people, it's not necessarily like their personalities that I was attracted to, it's the fact that they were who they were because they are the person that God created them to be, basically. And so I wanted a different experience, and I had one. I had a very big change in my recovery. I think things got a little stagnant, and I through the amends process the second time around, had an incredible experience. There was a resentment that I was really harboring that I didn't even really know I had, like a murderous. I was really, really resentful towards this one situation, and really painful. And the first time working the steps, it was like a blip on the radar. Like, I didn't even see it. And this time it was like, God revealed it to me when I was ready for it. And, and I just started to, it took a while. I mean, I was talking about this on the car ride, certain suggestions. My sponsor really pissed me off for a while there. She did. She, angered me. I really thought that I had a spiritual, self-righteousness. I really felt like, I know what's best for me now. I'm sober, and, I couldn't get much more spiritual than this. And, so turns out that I had so much pride still. I thought it was another pride thing showing up. And, I went to this spiritual retreat to deal with this resentment basically to do some work on this resentment that I was having. And I had a really beautiful experience and an encounter with God. And, I ended up, it's hard to explain, but I ended up coming back to the faith of my childhood, which was coming home, honestly. Really has really enriched my life and really deepened my relationship with God, and I just need all the guidance that I can get. And I have found it, and now I have multiple communities, and AA has showed me. And I only mention that obviously this is not a religious place, and it's about spirituality, but AA has shown me how to let go of my pride and to open my mind to things, and to that I'm now a part of something else. It's incredible. It's so beautiful. And I've really developed some amazing relationships, with non-alcoholics even. And, that's such a crazy thing. Who befriends non-alcoholics? So It's been truly like an adventure. I really do look at life as an adventure, and AA has given me a chance to really participate in the stream of life. I love all the challenging stuff too. I really do. I mean, I think I need people like my sponsor, my close friends, to kind of rein me into reality sometimes, because I can get very, I'm very excited about stuff and can be almost overly enthusiastic. But I truly do see life as, life is short, is what I have found, and I wasted a lot of years, like a lot of years, and and AA has just shown me to really cherish the moments and to see what it is that I am a part of. This program, this Alcoholics Anonymous, is such a privilege to be a part of and to help people. I've had the opportunity recently to try to sponsor people. They weren't exactly sober, but I was a sponsor in name, but doing my best. I stayed sober, so that's good. But and just trying to pass the message, and to AA has taught me how to be in the world. I really try to be an example of the Big Book, an example of Alcoholics Anonymous wherever I am, and it just helps me with my attitude, and that it's not all about me, and that just to try to bring joy and light into situations, and to bring like a positive attitude and an attitude of gratitude, which I remember when I first got sober, hearing Wallace speak and talking about that. And I was saying to Susie earlier, I was like, it was like a light bulb. I'm like, oh, we're allowed to like choose our attitude. Like I have choices about how I can act today. I had no idea, but so that is all I got. I'm really grateful to be here and to be a part of this program and here with you all, and that's all I got. Thank you so much.